to tie a fly for you tonight. This is a caddis pattern on a 4mm bead. I think it's a size 12 full in my look. With my heavier flies, I want them to sink as quick as possible. I don't get these point flies that I've got hackles and stuff like that on the front, which is going to slow the sink rate down. So I want mine nice and dense, get down to where the grayling are as quick as possible. So to tie the fly, I've got a 4mm bead on a fully milled jig hook. I'm using Vivus brown thread. I think it's an 8/0. Glow Bright number 12, green. A natural English partridge feather, which I'll show you a little trick about that. And some Yanshaman cinnamon shellback. And then to finish it all off, I'm just using good old varnish. So, tying at the head, back of the bead, normal, work your way down, go off your access, work your way all the way down, to say where your barb would be, and then I cut off maybe 3 inches of Glow Bright, and then I'm going to double it over once, and then double it over again, so it's like that. Tie that in, nice and secure, cut that away, and then make me tag. I don't like silly long tags, so maybe, what will that be, 3 or 4mm. So a lot of people, let's see, they buy a whole partridge like I do, and then once the ones use the ones around the necks, they don't think that the bigger feathers are really up to much, so they end up throwing a full cape away. So there's a little trick that I've come up with is just put any feather, I've just pulled one off there, any feather, pull away the fluff so you don't need that, and then I'm pulling away, so I've got maybe, same again, just the tips like that, maybe a little bit more, like that. So normally you'd tie that in, wouldn't you, to make a hackle? So what I do, snip that off, like that, push all the fibres back, so they're the way that they should be. I'm going to make that a little bit smaller, pull some more off. So then you're left with, you've cut a V out of your feather, like that. So now I just want to marry up the length of the tag to the length of the tips of the partridge. But if I did that as a normal hackle, I'd have all that length as a hackle, which sometimes, you know, that's overkill, depending if you're doing delicate spiders and stuff like that. But it still will wrap round the hook like a hackle, instead of making loads of turns, you know, and folding it all back. So all you need to do is line up the tips to the end of your tag, and then pinch it with your finger and thumb, so then like that wraps it round the hook, and then a light turn with your thread, 1, 2, there, I've created a hackle without putting my hackle pliers on, spinning it around the hook. It's just, you get a lot more use out of your partridge instead of just buying half a dozen feathers. You know, you can do that if you want, but, you know, use half a dozen feather off a cape, you end up throwing it all away. So I'm just going to build a bit of a taper here. You know, every case caddis, yeah, they are thin, but I want a bit of a taper to mine. So work up and down with a thread, get the desired shape that you want. Takes a bit of a build up, depending what thread you're using. So I'm happy with that. So Yanshaman, cinnamon, shellback. Let's get a section of this out. There's a section. There's a shiny side and a dull side. Doesn't really matter for this because we're going to be covering it in varnish. Cut a point onto the end, makes it easy to tie in. So tie it in at the point, nice wrap, 2 wraps, and then as you're working the thread back down to the tag, just pull it tighter and tighter till you get to the tag, and then same again, back up to behind the bead. You can create a bit more of a taper here if you want, which I'm going to do. Up to there, up to behind the bead, and just stop behind the bead. And here's a lovely little thing I like to do, Sharpie pen, just put a couple of dots onto the thread. Don't have to do that, probably doesn't make a difference, but I think once the varnish is on, it looks a bit better. So I've just wrapped up here around my threads. So yeah, nice and tight, segmented turns up your fly. Still pulling fairly tight so you get to behind the bead. 1, 2 locking turns, pull nice, put some tension on that shell back, cut that off. Now maybe make another 4 or 5 flies out of that. Just make it nice and secure at the head. Whip finishing tool, 3 turn whip finish. 1, 2, 3, bang. Cut that off. Now coming with your varnish. I like to apply my varnish with a cocktail stick. You know, they are very expensive. If you use that, you know, if you make maybe, I don't know, use that 3 or 4 times, throw it in the bin, you get plenty in a pack. So you don't want loads on the end of your cocktail stick. You probably have until I've got any on there. And then over your shell back, just a nice layer over it, just to secure it. You know, if you catch a nice, a nice out of season trout on it with its teeth, it could all unravel. But just put that varnish, nice layer of varnish all over it. You know, I might do this probably 2 or 3 times on each fly. Piece of toilet pearl, wipe it off, good as new. Use that for my next fly, doesn't stick. Leave that to dry. I'm just going to show you a bit of a close-up now. Leave that to dry, and there you have it. Sinks like a stone, great point fly, and it catches fish. Cheers.